Well, this is quite interesting nowadays because all of these screens, which are now flat screens, of course, and you can get them for a few £100s. When I was heavily involved in the stock market in the middle 80s, late 80s, and into the early 90s, whilst these things did exist, there were, of course, much bigger things, a bit like you and me had recognised as the old big Ferguson televisions. And our job, of course, was to, when we were investing money for clients, was to have as much information as you possibly can. And I cannot stress that the more information you have in any business, then the more likely it is that you'll be a great benefit to your customer, but also stand a much better chance of succeeding. And again, on the stock market, there's lots of phrases that are used, and a well-worn one is the one by one of the great golfers, I think it was Arnold Palmer, who was one day accused of being lucky. And he replied to that by saying, yeah, it's amazing because the more I practice, the luckier I become. And that principle applied certainly to the stock market, because the more information you had and the more that you did your research and the more you carried out analysis, then the more likely it was that you would be successful in the type of shares you chose, and ensuring hopefully that your clients had the luxury of sleeping at night. And ironically, what's happened now is that to a large degree we have that well-worn phrase, a level playing field. And a level playing field gives us all, because I don't do anything that you couldn't do yourselves, is based on acquiring information and having that information and then analysing it, making sure what it means. And the only way you can get that in this modern day is by having these things. And just the same as my lads who are in the workshop have their wrenches and their tools and all of those other things in this enormous toolbox that they spend fortunes on with Snap-on and so on, well, this is my toolbox, because it's on these screens that in essence I'm carrying out the same procedures as I did 20 years ago in the stock market. And that is to gather information, decide what it is it's telling me, and then reach some conclusions. So these screens are in essence nothing different than different stock markets around the world. But in this instance, what they are is in fact auction houses. And these are different auction places where I can go online virtually 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. If my wife is watching the dancing program or the cooking program, then I'm quite interested to get my laptop out and seeing what's going on. Because the one thing I understand, and I hope you probably do as well as a consumer, is that this is an ever-changing picture. On average nowadays, we're probably seeing in excess of 2,000 to 3,000 cars going through the various auction houses, and some of them will be gems, and quite a few will in fact be lemons. So my task is to find the gems from the lemons, or as my dad used to say, sort the wheat from the chaff. So in essence, all these are our auction houses. They're telling me what vehicles are coming up. We usually have 2 or 3 days notice, but bearing in mind that's changing on a daily basis and an hourly basis, so vehicles are being added all the time. And that gives me some warning of what I will be looking for in the coming week. So by close of business on Sunday, despite having all of these opportunities open to us, or supposed opportunities, we've condensed that down to probably looking at no more than up to 100 vehicles. So we've identified the vehicles that we wish to buy. We know the reasons why we want to buy them. We know what our customers are looking for. And by Monday morning at 7:30, we're in a position to put all these lovely machines on and to start the task of finding those gems. And as I said a moment ago, I don't do anything, and my colleagues here don't do anything, that you couldn't do yourself. And that's pretty true of anything. You see, I suppose if I went to night school, I could be a bricklayer, or I could be a plasterer, or I could be an electrician. There is one slight problem with that, is that whilst I could learn how to do it, I have no interest in it. and ultimately I think that would mean I wouldn't be very good. So we don't do anything you couldn't do yourselves, but whether you could dedicate the resources and the time to doing this is somewhat debatable. But that's what these screens are about. They are, in essence, to provide nothing more than me having a better opportunity to find those gems of cars that we know are out there, but my goodness me, you've got to go through an awful lot to find them. So that's the reasons for the screens.